literally never seen two players do what Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase have done in the NFL. Justin Jefferson shocked everybody in 2020, breaking Anquan Boldin's 19-year-old rookie record with 1,400 yards. But even more shockingly, that record fell the very next year when his old LSU teammate Jamar Chase threw down for an insane 1,455 yards. But, to be honest, these records aren't the peak of their careers. Far from it. I believe what we've seen so far is just the tip of the iceberg. Both players have changed their teams in the present and into the future, changed the ways defenses operate against them, and changed what it means to be a wide receiver in the NFL. We'll deep dive into each of their games stylistically, how they win at the beginning, middle, and end of each route, and how defenses have been playing them. But real quick, I want to thank this week's sponsor, DraftKings. The NFL is back. And there's no better way to kick things off than with a super sweet deal from DraftKings Sportsbook, an official partner of the NFL. New customers who sign up just have to bet $5 on any NFL wager, and you instantly receive $200 in free bets. Plus, with same-game parlays, you can combine multiple bets from the same game to give yourself a shot at even bigger winnings all season long. If DraftKings isn't available in your state, you don't have to worry. DraftKings Daily Fantasy has been innovating in even more ways so you can win some cash this season. If you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, as a new customer, if you use the promo code Rollins, you'll receive $200 in free bets instantly when placing a $5 wager. That's promo code Rollins only at DraftKings Sportsbook. We'll kick things off with Chase, then we'll get to Jefferson, and when looking at Jamar, his game is all about beating you deep from the outside. From this alignment, he led the NFL in receiving yards despite catching 26 fewer balls than the number 2 receiver on the list, Deontay Johnson. 19.9 yards per reception and 11 touchdowns as an outside receiver. When Chase is aligned there, a big play is about to happen, and it's probably gonna happen deep. I've talked about 9-8-9 plenty of times before on this channel, where the 9s refer to 9 routes, which are go balls, and the 8 refers to a post route, but depending on the coverage can turn into a dig. 9-8-9 creates a one-on-one for Chase outside, and anytime Joe Burrow sees him match up with just about any cornerback, you can bet your ass that's where the ball's going. Stylistically, Chase is actually super patient, which is interesting. Typically, you'd expect a receiver who's tearing ass downfield to be aggressive in establishing space between himself and the defender quickly, but Chase is just so smooth getting in and out of his release. He does take his time, but he always gets to the right spot. He'll almost always take a hesitation step to square himself with the corner to suss out what he's doing. Then he loves using a diamond release, which is typically a hard 3-step release outside, then you cut back in. But Chase executes his version a little differently. Watch the pacing and patience of his release, where he's speeding up and slowing down. He's trying to get Brandon Faison to swivel his hips and get him to cross his leg over his body, since after that, Faison simply can't recover. And just to make sure, Chase uses his power to attack and creates that extra separation. When Faison makes an adjustment and says, "Okay, I'll stay patient," since he's taking his time, Chase can change up the pacing of his releases, change the release altogether, and make things look the same when they're not. After he kept torching Faison in the AFC wildcard game, the Raiders said, "Alright, we'll try the next guy against him," but Desmond Trufant didn't fare much better. Trufant bailed way deep over the top because he was terrified of Chase's speed, but with this Chase-Burrow connection, when corners do that, it's so easy for them to go back shoulder. Then on the very next play, they see you're dropping deep, so they break it off and throw it right under your nose. This cat and mouse game overwhelms defenses around the league, but admittedly, Chase hit a lull in the middle of his rookie season, mostly because he was getting more double teams. So it was time to push his development to the next step, where the Bengals began bumping him inside more, which makes it harder to double him. In fact, they bumped his slot usage up 8% higher in his last 9 games, started targeting him twice as much when he was there, and while playing the slot is like learning almost an entirely new position, Chase balled the hell out. I don't think he gets enough credit for how smart he is, and based on how quickly he picked up that part of the Bengals offense mid-season, proves it. He sees Tavon Young getting capped by the safety, which very often means the slot is blitzing, so the safety can easily come down and guard Chase. He knows if all 6 of the guys on the line come and overload the 5 Bengals blockers, he'll have to sight adjust where he changes his route completely, but when the play starts, watch his eyes. Young does rush, but 2 of the potential threats drop into coverage. No blitz, so no sight adjust. But I think a receiver with less awareness just isn't making this play. Chase knows the safety is coming down from depth to guard him, but if he went right into his route, the safety wouldn't have to break momentum and could probably nail down on him. Plus, there's not a ton of space since these 2 defenders are dropping into zone. So Chase gives this little hesitation to hold the safety in place while preserving this pocket of openness in the middle, and right as he's about to catch the ball, revisions the backer, jumps in front of him, and picks up yak on yak. Speaking of yards after the catch, he had 550 of them, which shows how he got all the way up to 1,455 yards on just 81 catches, and a big part of that is his connection with Burrow, whether he's hitting him underneath in stride and on time to turn a 5-yard throw into a 50-yard gain, or changing the play before the snap to get Chase in the best position to win his route. Here Burrow sees its cover 2 zone with 2 deep safeties, so he flashes a backwards L to Chase and Chris Evans to get them to switch alignments and get Chase closer to the line of scrimmage. Burrow knows this is going to be a bang-bang hole shot, and Chase will need every single last inch to secure the catch before the safety pummels him. This Burrow-Chase connection is special, and one that Justin Jefferson has to be at least a little jealous of, which makes it all the more impressive that he's torched the NFL without a top 10 quarterback. Cousins isn't willing to bomb the ball down the field when he sees one-on-ones like Burrow is, so Jefferson has to be able to do a little bit of everything, and that's really his calling card. He can play inside and outside, he can block, use speed, use power, go deep, underneath. He is the total package, and the Vikings use him in every possible way. They pretty much have to with all the different types of double teams defenses have deployed against him this past season, but since J-Jeff can do everything, he had a lot of different ways to beat him. In cover 2-man, defenders play inside leverage to funnel receivers to their safety help, so if you can win back inside, there's literally nobody there. Jefferson likes using a split release to come to balance and then reassesses what to do from there. He also uses a diamond release to get Amani Oruwariye to cross his feet over, then gives a violent jab outside to put the cherry on top, but Kirk doesn't feel like he's open at the right time and doesn't throw to him. So, the very next play, against essentially the same style of coverage, Jeff gets to his split release again, and since Oruwariye is waiting for that same diamond release, Jefferson just blows by him and creates that vertical separation. Yes, he kept beating the coverage over and over, but to create even more separation, he knew he'd have to attack cover 2-man where it really hurts, a short to intermediate outbreaking route. Since the defender is playing inside leverage, you're kinda running into him if you run a slant or dig, and you can't run deep with the safety over the top, so Jefferson takes everything he's gathered thus far in the game, uses his split release to hold Oruwariye, stays tight to him, forcing him to stay up the field, then check this violent break to create the separation for the catch. The best receivers can win even in adverse situations, whether that means the corner has a great rep, the corner has the right leverage. No matter how challenging the situation, great receivers still win. Here, Chandon Sullivan uses a press bail technique where he gives Jefferson a quick jab to throw him off while still trying to match his speed. Jeff does a good job using a wipe move. Since Sullivan attacks him above the elbow, he wouldn't want to use a downwards chop. But since Sullivan is punching, then bailing out, he's in position to match pretty much anywhere. If Jefferson slides immediately into his inbreaker, it's possible Sullivan could undercut it thanks to his good positioning, so Jefferson knows he has to get physical. He angles towards the flag like he's gonna cut across, then right at the last minute he cuts into Sullivan to halt his momentum up the field. This is also one of Jefferson's signature rocker steps, and so even though he didn't win at the beginning or middle of the route, he more than won at the end in an adverse situation. I don't think people think of him as a very physical player, which he definitely is, and I don't think people think of him as a deep speed threat or as a guy who can go up and make contested catches like he's Calvin Johnson. Who between Jefferson and Chase is better? I came into this week siding with Jefferson, but the more I watched and studied the two, I'd slightly give the edge to Chase. On a snap-by-snap basis, I think Chase offers more with his ability to dominate outside, like when he's guarded closely, he's basically wide open, which is terrifying, and he can take a quick slant or screen 80 yards, which doesn't feel like Jefferson is capable of doing that at his same level. Chase also has Burrow in the present and future, whereas I like Kirk Cousins, and he's proven he can get Jefferson the ball a ton, but he's not as good as Burrow is now, and I don't know if Kirk will be in Minnesota in a few years. I will say Jefferson will probably outproduce Chase pretty consistently since Cousins targets him way more, so if I have to take a guy for just one single snap, I'm going Chase, but statistically for an entire season, I'm going Jefferson. Whichever of the two you side with, and let me know in the comments who you'd choose. They are both players doing things we've never seen before this early in a career. Chase is a patient, smooth, deep ball threat that can bomb you deep or sizzle underneath. And Jefferson is an aggressive freak of nature who can attack every last blade of grass from everywhere on the field. These are two unprecedented career arcs, so obviously the future is bright as hell for Justin Jefferson and Jamarr Chase. The question is, with game time just 24 hours away, who do you think is better?